What if one of the greatest empires in history never fell? Imagine a world where Istanbul still ruled the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and Africa, where the Ottomans, instead of fading into history, marched boldly into the modern age. Would the 21st century look anything like the world we know today? Or would the Ottoman crescent still cast its shadow across 3 continents? Stay with me, because this what if might just rewrite everything you thought you knew about our modern world. The Ottoman Empire, once a superpower that stretched from the deserts of Arabia to the gates of Vienna, collapsed after World War I. But let's rewind. Imagine an alternate timeline where the empire avoided dissolution. No partition by European powers, no rise of Turkey as a republic. Instead, the Ottomans adapt, reform, and survive into the 21st century. What would global politics, culture, and even daily life look like today, under an empire that ruled for over 600 years? First, let's talk geography. If the Ottoman Empire survived, its borders might include modern-day Turkey, Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Egypt, the Balkans, and North Africa. That's a territory of nearly 250 million people today, spanning oil-rich lands, fertile agricultural zones, and some of the world's most strategic waterways: the Bosporus, the Suez Canal, and the Persian Gulf. In this alternate world, the Ottoman Empire wouldn't just be a regional power. It would be a geopolitical giant rivaling the US, Russia, and China. Imagine CNN headlines: Ottoman Sultan meets with US President. Or, Ottoman troops secure Red Sea trade routes. The empire was historically Islamic but ruled over Christians, Jews, and other minorities for centuries. If it survived into today, we'd likely see a multi-religious empire, where mosques, churches, and synagogues stand side by side under the watchful eye of the Sultan. But here's the twist. The Ottomans would face the challenge of modern secularism. Would they lean towards a progressive, diverse society, similar to the United Arab Emirates? Or would the Sultanate enforce strict Islamic governance, creating friction with the West? Cultural influence would be massive. Imagine Netflix filled with Ottoman dramas, global fashion trends inspired by Ottoman design, and Istanbul, not New York or London, being the cultural capital of the world. Economically, the Ottomans would control vast oil reserves in Iraq and Saudi Arabia, trade routes across the Mediterranean, and tourism hotspots like Jerusalem, Mecca, and Cairo. With this wealth, the empire could rival the Gulf states, blending ancient tradition with futuristic innovation. Picture Ottoman megacities: Istanbul with shimmering skyscrapers topped by minarets, bullet trains linking Cairo to Baghdad, and space programs funded by oil wealth. And don't forget, this empire sits at the crossroads of Europe and Asia. It would dominate global trade the same way China does today. Militarily, a modern Ottoman empire would be terrifyingly powerful. Imagine NATO not as we know it, but with the Ottomans as a central member, or perhaps as a rival bloc of their own. They'd control the Middle East, giving them leverage over both energy supplies and the holy cities of Islam. That means relations with the West would be complicated. World conflicts might look entirely different. The Cold War could have been a 3-way standoff: the United States, the Soviet Union, and the Ottomans. The War on Terror? Maybe it never happens the same way, because the Ottomans themselves would dominate and police the region. But what about ordinary people? Life under a 21st century Ottoman Empire would depend on how the Sultanate evolved. In a progressive empire, citizens might enjoy advanced infrastructure, religious tolerance, and booming economic opportunities. In a conservative empire, daily life could be stricter, women's rights limited, censorship enforced, and cultural freedoms curtailed. Either way, if you lived in this world, you might carry an Ottoman passport. Study Ottoman history in schools, and even pay taxes to a sultan instead of a president. So what if the Ottoman Empire had survived into the 21st century? We'd likely live in a world reshaped by its vast territory, oil-rich economy, and cultural dominance. The West might not be the global center of power. Instead, all roads would lead not to Washington, London, or Moscow, but to Istanbul. History reminds us empires rise and empires fall. But in this alternate reality, one empire never did. And maybe, just maybe, our entire world would look completely different. So what do you think? Would you want to live under a modern Ottoman Empire? Or are you glad history turned out the way it did? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more mind-bending what-if scenarios.